£1,000. The most recent teasers for the TLC show reveal that the famous sisters Amy Slaton and Chris Combs have uncovered some terrible information about their family history. Therefore, what do these two discover about their origins and where they come from? The TLC show £1,000 Sisters is all about the power of family. When it comes to the Slaton and Halterman children, they are among the most eccentric families that can be seen on your television screen. In situations where they put cameras in front of the siblings, TLC relies on this particular aspect of the situation. A significant portion of the reason that viewers of £1,000 Sisters continue to watch the show is because there is always someone who is engaged in a quarrel with another individual. Since the beginning of the 6th season of £1,000 Sisters, viewers have been able to see that Tammy Slaton has been involved in a dispute with Amanda Halterman. After all is said and done, it is all about the family keeping together in the end, but that does not imply that there aren't any times of biting competition. Amy Slaton and Chris Combs investigate their amazing beginnings in the world. A genealogist is consulted by Amy Slaton and Chris Combs in order to assist them in tracing their history, as shown in spoilers for episodes of £1,000 Sisters. The most important thing for Amy is to discover whether they have any ancestry that can be traced back to the British royal family. Chris, on the other hand, appears to be going along for the ride. In the teasers, Amy Slaton is quoted as saying that she enjoys learning about history, even if the subject matter is not directly related to her family. In light of this, it is not surprising that they sought the assistance of this specialist in order to discover their roots. It should not come as a complete surprise that Amy and Chris would be interested in learning about their family history, given the current trend of using DNA testing to trace the history of their family. According to the leaks, Amy Slaton even claims that she is capable of getting down with dinosaurs himself. £1,000 Sisters. Are Amy and Chris related to the British royal family? This specialist in £1,000 Sisters scenes came to the conclusion that the furthest back their family could be traced was to a man named Hugh Kirkwood, who lived in the 1700s and came over from the United Kingdom. This was the conclusion reached based on the results of the expert. He was a soldier who participated in the Revolutionary War. Amy claims that she believes this to be the reason that she and her siblings often argue with one another, and that this is because they come from a long history of fighting soldiers. The specialist was even successful in locating the crest of the Kirkwood family. As a result of this investigation into the roots of the Slaton family tree, this was yet another fascinating piece of information that was discovered. Therefore, despite the fact that Amy, Tammy, Chris, Amanda, Misty, and others may not be linked to British royals, they surely have a fascinating background in terms of how they came to be where they are now. This not only provides another layer to the storyline that is currently taking place in scenes from Season 6, but it also adds another dimension to the storyline. In the world of reality TV, few shows have captured the public's attention as thoroughly as £1,000 Sisters. The series, which follows the lives of Amy Slaton and her brother Chris Combs as they navigate life with obesity and their journeys toward weight loss, has provided both emotional drama and moments of humor. But the latest season has brought more than just weight loss struggles and family dynamics to the forefront. Amy and Chris have recently uncovered a shocking revelation about their family history that has shaken them to the core. What began as a simple exploration into their family ancestry turned into a thrilling and emotional journey of self-discovery. From mysterious relatives to hidden secrets, Amy and Chris's family roots have proven to be far more complex than they ever imagined. The discovery not only brought new light to their lives, but has also given them new perspective on their personal struggles and ambitions. The search for roots. The journey began as a simple curiosity. Amy and Chris had always known the basics about their family background growing up in the small town of Dixon, Kentucky. They were raised in a working-class family with a focus on tight-knit family bonds. However, as their lives changed, so did their desire to know more about where they came from. With their family tree already a subject of light conversation during family gatherings, Amy and Chris decided to take a deeper dive into their ancestry. "I always wondered about our family," Amy said in one of the episodes. Growing up, we didn't have a lot of answers. We knew where we were from, but not much else. Amy's interest in her roots grew as she matured, and her curiosity about their family's deeper history became a shared passion with Chris. Chris, on the other hand, had always been more reserved about discussing their family's past. I didn't really care much, he admitted. But once Amy started digging into it, I thought it'd be a good idea to see what we could find. Little did they know that what they would unearth would leave them questioning everything they thought they knew about their family. A genealogy test that changed everything. Their quest began with a simple online genealogy test. It was meant to be a fun and easy way to explore their roots, but it quickly spiraled into a far more dramatic and complex investigation. The results came back faster than expected, but there was one detail that caught their attention. According to the test, both Amy and Chris were connected to a family line that they had never heard of before. The names that appeared on the report were unfamiliar, and even more perplexing were the regions associated with their ancestry. Amy and Chris both had relatives linked to different states and regions, some of which were thousands of miles away from Kentucky. "What is this?" Chris asked, looking at the list of surnames. "These aren't names I recognize." Amy, equally perplexed, responded, "I don't know, but this could be interesting. Maybe we should dig deeper." They began their search by reaching out to the family members they knew, but no one had any information on the new connections. Their grandmother, who had always been the family historian, claimed to have never heard of any of the names in the report. As they dug deeper, they discovered that the people connected to their family line had ties to various historical periods, some dating back to the early 1800s, and others even further. This ignited an intense desire in both Amy and Chris to uncover the truth. The hidden family legacy. The investigation took a more personal turn when Amy and Chris visited local archives and libraries in search of old records. They uncovered stories about long-lost relatives who had lived in different states, and eventually a shocking revelation surfaced. One of the names in the genealogy report, a woman named Josephine Parker, was listed as an ancestor of both Amy and Chris, but there was something strange about her history. Josephine Parker, it turned out, was a prominent figure in the late 1800s in the southern United States. She was a successful businesswoman, having inherited and grown a fortune through her real estate investments. However, what shocked Amy and Chris was the fact that Josephine's wealth and success had come from an entirely different background than anything they could have imagined. Josephine Parker was believed to have been part of a wealthy family that had deep roots in plantation ownership, making her history both prestigious and controversial. In the 1860s, the Parker family had owned vast amounts of land in Kentucky, Louisiana, and Mississippi, with deep connections to the cotton trade, which flourished before the Civil War. Josephine's role in this family business, however, had largely been kept quiet. It seemed that over the years, any mention of her family's plantation ownership had been erased or obscured. "I couldn't believe it when I found out," Amy recalled. "I thought, no way. Not our family." Chris was equally shocked. "I had no idea. I knew we were from a small town, and I knew we had our struggles, but I didn't know we were tied to something like that." The shocking truth about their ancestors' involvement with the plantation economy and her considerable wealth challenged everything they thought they knew about their roots. Josephine's descendants, however, had chosen to distance themselves from her controversial legacy, and in doing so, many of them severed ties with the wealth and influence that she had gained. But Amy and Chris's discovery didn't end there. They found that while Josephine Parker had helped transform her family's fortune, she had also played a significant role in a local social movement in the late 1800s. In an unexpected twist, Josephine's later life revealed a progressive side to her character that seemed at odds with her earlier years. After the Civil War, she became involved in efforts to provide education for Black children and used her resources to support social causes that helped uplift disenfranchised communities. The complexities of her life left Amy and Chris reeling as they tried to reconcile her controversial past with her later acts of social responsibility. "It's like she was two different people," Amy said. "I'm not sure what to think of it all." A fractured family. As Amy and Chris dove deeper into their family history, they began to uncover more uncomfortable truths. The family dynamics, which had always seemed so solid and predictable to them, were anything but. They learned that their ancestors had been involved in numerous scandals, including embezzlement, feuds over inheritance, and even political corruption. One of the most striking stories came from an old letter written by their great-great-grandfather, William Slaton, who had been embroiled in a bitter dispute with his cousin over a piece of property. The letter revealed just how ruthless some of their ancestors could be in their pursuit of power and wealth. It was a stark contrast to the modest lifestyle that Amy and Chris had been accustomed to, and it left them feeling disillusioned. "I never thought our family had so many secrets," Chris admitted. "It's hard to wrap my head around it." Amy, who had always been open about her struggles with weight and self-image, found herself grappling with feelings of shame and confusion. "It's hard to imagine that people we're related to were involved in all of this," she said. "But I guess we're all just human. We've all got our baggage." Despite the revelations, Amy and Chris remained committed to understanding the complexity of their family history. They realized that while they couldn't change the past, they could still learn from it. "Maybe we're not defined by our family history, but we can use it to shape who we want to be," Amy said. Healing and moving forward, the journey into their family's past was not only an emotional roller coaster for Amy and Chris, but it also helped them develop a deeper understanding of themselves. While their ancestry had come with some shocking revelations, they both came to terms with the fact that the past wasn't something they could control or erase. It was simply part of their story. For Amy, the discovery provided an opportunity for self-reflection. She realized that, like her ancestors, she too had struggled with challenges and faced hardships in her life. From battling obesity to navigating complicated family relationships, Amy found solace in knowing that the legacy of perseverance and resilience had been passed down to her. Chris, who had always been more introverted about his personal struggles, found comfort in understanding the complex layers of his family's past. The knowledge that some of his ancestors had risen above difficult circumstances to make a positive impact on their community gave him the strength to continue his own journey toward health and self-empowerment. Together, the siblings embraced their newfound understanding of their family's history and used it as a stepping stone for personal growth. As they continued their weight loss journeys and worked toward creating healthier lifestyles, they understood that they weren't just shaped by their past, but by the choices they made today. In the end, Amy and Chris Slaton discovered that while their family's roots were undeniably complicated, their own futures were wide open. Armed with the knowledge of their ancestors' mistakes and triumphs, they were ready to forge their own path and leave a legacy of their own.